This interview was recorded in the middle of May 2022 and originally released in 2 parts, which I've now squished together into one big video. Please use the timestamps to navigate around if you're looking for anything in particular, like insights into his writing technique, Peter's book recommendations, or reflecting on seeing his work turned into a Netflix show. Hopefully you'll enjoy watching The Day I Met Peter F. Hamilton as much as I enjoyed making it. He made smoked salmon and scrambled eggs, you know? It was lovely.
I thought we were here for Who's Got the Loudest Shirt competition.
This isn't my job, okay? I just basically turned up and it took us weeks and weeks and weeks to get in the same room together.
I think you're talking months.
It was, I had a look at the email and we originally arranged it for January the something because I wanted to get the read-along out the way. And now it's May the 14th. So we're 5 months late. It feels like we should have a bigger introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, live on Media Death Cult. We can cut this out. Live on Media Death Cult. It's Britain's #1 science fiction author, Peter fucking Hamilton. That's not your actual middle name, is it? It's
no.
We're live now.
We're live now.
You're on TV.
Oh my goodness.
What about these books up here?
Oh, mostly foreign editions.
I don't know if the camera can pick them up, but these are foreign editions of your book. Okay, let's go in.
All right, come on. I was hoping you weren't going to be here when this arrived, but that is my...
Oh my God!
Yeah.
That's embarrassing. In all seriousness, Britain's #1 science fiction author. Don't laugh. That's written on the front of your books. Regardless of who put it there, whether that's an editorial thing or whether that's your own ego, that's got to feel good to have #1 in Britain for whatever it is, unless it's some sort of criminal act or whatever. But how does that make you feel?
It is nice to see. I just never sort of say it in front of Al Reynolds or Steve Baxter or anybody else. But yeah, no, I think it dates back to when I was in the Sunday Times top 10 list, I think. So
they came up with that, and then your
the publicity department did, yeah.
So is it a sales thing or someone's opinion?
Oh, it's a sales thing. I think it's meant to be a sales thing. So you're going back 15 years.
Yeah, but it's a thing, right? It's nice to. I guess when you started out writing, I don't even know what I'm trying to say here, but when you started out writing, what's the goal? To be a full-time writer, to be able to do it as your job, and not necessarily to be a rich man or anything like that, just to make a living.
Yeah, just to keep on going, to get enough money to write the next book.
And then you're Britain's #1 science fiction author. Congratulations.
I was in 1998, yes, but there's no need to take it off.
No, if that was me, I would keep it on there. I mean, it's not like you're after fame. We were talking before we pressed record, and you're saying you've been recognised twice in your whole life, but then you're still recognised within the science fiction community as Peter F. Hamilton. You know, you're a big name in my world, and then Netflix comes calling, and you get your stuff on the telly on a big show.
That was quite amazing that they came after me. Yeah, I was really pleased with what the end product was as well.
So it's Sunny's Edge. Sunny's Edge, which was a short story.
Short story from originally, I think it was in. Oh, it was one of the small magazines. I can't even think of the name.
I love the fact that you're not quite sure, and yet this is.
But it was published before my first novel came out, I think, and then I rewrote it for the short story so that it fitted into the Night's Dawn universe.
Okay.
So that's probably when most people would have seen it, because the early stuff, which is down here somewhere, that all came out sort of late 80s and in very small magazines. So not many people had actually read it before.
So what's it like to actually see your work turned into a TV show and up on the screen? Do you have a lot of input in what they do, or
no? I didn't have much. They would send me the stuff that they were working on visually. They would send me the stuff they was working on and let me see. And what do you think of that? And oh, it's great. What else can you say? Because they did such a good job on it. I mean, the process, I wasn't aware of the rendering stages and everything that they use to make this. I mean, if you haven't seen it, it's all digital. There are no actors on it. Everything you see is digital. And the world they created was just astonishing.
How do you quantify success if it's not seeing your stuff on a Netflix show that millions of people are watching? Is it sales? Is it money made? Is it good reviews? Or are you happy with when you've finished a book and you sit back and see what you've written? If you're happy with it, is that a success?
It is, yes. Plus, I mean, it's a combination of all those, really. As long as the current book does well enough to pay for the next book, that they keep paying me to write another one. That's it. That's what I'm here for.
Can you go and stand next to it?
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you need to.
Do you recognise that? But how are the arms? They're like that, aren't they?
Is it? Why have you got a big painting of Hugh Grant?
That was done by a friend of mine who paints portraits and very kindly did that for me. He started it before lockdown. He's only just finished it.
Wow.
So yeah, that is going to be. I'm going to get a good photo of that and use it as my cover image now.
That's going to be
the authored photo.
So you'll be kind of stuck in time because as you get older,
I won't look any different.
You'll be using that.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, it's. I wasn't quite expecting it to be this size, but yeah.
It's a bit weird, I must admit, but
yeah.
you know.
It needs framing and.
That's what it needs.
Yeah.
I have a question, and again, I'm not quite sure what I'm asking. What do you want the readers to feel? Are you happy with they get to the end of Judas Unchained and they've gone on an adventure and they've entertained themselves for a few hours, or is there a message in there somewhere, like a lot of philosophical science fiction? So are you all about entertainment, or do you want them to go away with something more?
I think probably 90% entertainment. It's given the size, the scale of the books I write. I'm hoping it's an immersive experience because if I get criticisms much, it's for, you've gone into too much detail on this, that and the other. But whereas a lot of people are saying, we want more detail, we want to know how the world works, how it's structured. So that's a balance that I'm always going to lose. There are, I hope, parts of the book where you're reading along, enjoying it and go, didn't think of that. He's got a point there, or no, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, you said Judas Unchained, it ended on the question of, do we blow the bad guys up, or do we have can we think our way out of this by using a moral solution?
But is that in there I'm talking about the writing process, when you sit down to write that, is that where you want to end up? Or is it something you write in as you go?
No, I'm a huge planner. Everything's got to be thought out beforehand. The structure of the plot has. I mean, I'll write new stuff on the day when it comes to me, but the overall structure is always there before I start. You can't write something 2,000 pages long and sort of get to 1,850 and think, how do I finish this? You've got to know how to finish that.
Plot-wise, you've got it.
Yeah.
You've got it all figured out and it all slots in. So there's a lot of planning, and then the actual. Do you weave the message in, like the philosophical side of it?
Message is too strong a word. Concepts, ideas, hopefully, will be introduced. And yes, weaving the thread is down to me on the day. At the moment, I'm writing something which I'm thinking, it made perfect sense in the plot notes. I think this is stretching on too long without anything happening. I'm not going for the Eve Von Vought approach where something has to happen every second page, but I think the section I'm writing at the moment needs tightening up. So I self-edit when I do it.
So the thing that you're writing at the moment, you're finding it's too bloated, and then you have to go back and cut bits out or rewrite it, or
not the whole book.
A non-writer doesn't understand really how it's done. I know every writer's different, but people are really interested in how the nuts and bolts of it all fit together.
The chapter I'm writing at the moment, I think, is too long for what I'm trying to convey. How's that?
I like that. I mean, your books, they're famous for being huge,
yeah.
But it's a weird criticism to say, there's too much detail, because that's what I particularly love about your writing is the world building. It has to be big, and I would rather have a huge story with lots going on, because you've got so many characters, because we're experiencing a whole universe. Yeah, you could cut out loads of it and streamline it and get to the point, but then we wouldn't have the depth. So are you always writing like that? Are you always wanting to set a scene and painting a picture of a bigger universe?
Yes. But I think when I'm writing today, I'm just taking too long to do it. There's too much. I agree with the too much detail people at the moment for this chapter.
Too much detail.
Yeah, it's not moving the plot forward enough. We need to get on with the plot where I am now. So you've
experienced that before, or is this just...
Oh, yes.
So this is just a regular thing?
Oh,
It's not writer's block. You just go down a cul-de-sac and you have to kind of...
back out and do a U-turn or whatever. Yeah. No, I haven't suffered from writer's block, touch wood. Purely, I assume, because I've got the whole outline done. I mean, how I get there can be difficult, like I'm having at the moment. It's a bit difficult to write this section, but I'll get through it, because I always get through it, because I know what's coming next. Whereas if you don't know what's coming next and you're stuck, then you really are. That would be writer's block, I presume.
So this is the room where the magic happens. This is your library.
No, it's not.
It's not?
It's not.
Well, what about... Oh, my God. I thought we were...
No, this is the actual room.
You've got a secret
proper
passageway.
Proper way to get into an author's room.
Oh, my God. And look at that. So you look out on this.
I do, yes.
When you write the magic.
Yeah.
No, it's not magic.
It's there to describe it, to distract me.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I like it, yeah.
Right, show us around. Look at this.
These are good quality photos of the Night's Dawn covers done by Jim Burns. Bless him.
Oh, so they're not originals?
No, I can't afford the originals.
Oh, look. So that's just a print?
Yeah, very high quality one. I went down while Jim was actually painting it and saw him painting it in his studio. It's twice the size of that.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's weird. It's weird that you haven't got the original. I know you're not the artist, but it's your book. Are you not allowed? Can you not afford the original?
No, I can't. It's hanging up in some millionaire's house in America, I think.
Wow.
No, the
Hugh Grant,
company,
probably.
Hugh Grant. You're obsessed with Hugh Grant. But these are artist prints. The Pandora Star and Judas Unchained.
Oh,
yeah.
That might be my favourite, actually.
It is great, isn't it?
Well, it's like all of them. It's the wraparound cover, and you rarely get to see them like that. Oh my God! Look. Can you remember your own work years down the line, or was it a stream of consciousness at the time? You got it down, and then you've moved on to another book, or could you go on Mastermind and answer questions about all this stuff?
It depends how long ago. Trouble is, I wrote The Night's Dawn in the 90s, and I do get asked, on page 58 of volume 3, what were you talking about? You'd have to give me a lot of context, but I still know. I remember the plot.
Yeah,
and I remember some of the main characters, but actual specifics of how big was that Voidhawk? No.
I mean, why would you need to? So it all made sense at the time.
Yes. That's an important part of the writing process for me is internal logic.
Okay.
So many novels, films, or whatever break that internal logic. To get the hero or heroine out of a particular corner, a device will come along that does that. if I'm having that kind of situation, the device has to be included, earlier in the book. It has to have an internal consistency. If a spaceship can do one thing in chapter 1, it can't do something else in chapter 5.
Okay, it's getting quite geeky now. So
I know.
How accurate do you need? I mean, what's your background in science? Do you spend most of the time when you're writing these books researching and making sure the current where physics is currently, what people think is correct? Do you need to include that in your books, or can you bend? Do you go faster than light?
Yes.
Do you believe we can go faster than light?
There is mathematically a wormhole can exist. Actually, building one is a little bit trickier, and whether we can or not, I don't know. You're asking the wrong person.
But you're building it around the assumption that's real science.
I'm building it around the assumption that the maths can be turned into a machine.
Okay,
and therefore, what we know about the process described by the maths is logical in the books. I'm bending the concepts, but I will, if I bend them to allow faster than light travel, I will stick to that specific way of doing it.
So no Deus Ex Machinas. You don't like writing like that. It's all got to be...
No, although I got accused of doing that for Night's Dawn, but in fact the solution, because it's basically a quest story. Okay. I'm not going to spoil it for you because I know you haven't read it.
It's the one I haven't read.
Why not?
I'll get to it.
But put it this way, you will encounter what happens at the end, you will encounter in the first part of book 1.
Right.
Hopefully you won't realise, but it's there.
But it's all there.
It's included. Yeah, because I had the plot for that all laid out.
And where does... Have you got a science background? Not
a huge one. I'll tell you what I do try and get right is the engineering.
Okay.
And gravity and things like that. I think Niven came out with a great quote, as if you can generate gravity, you can do anything, which is why my starships by and large tend to have, you've only got gravity when you're under acceleration or you're spinning it. Because an anti-gravity system is a way up there technology, which makes for a bad story, really.
So you don't include that anywhere?
I think I've got it in in the very advanced ones in the Void. I think they can induce gravity, but by that time we've progressed, because I enjoyed it, because the Void was set about 1,000 years after Pandora's Star and Judas, from memory. I'm sure I'll be corrected.
That's what Wikipedia says.
Oh, good.
So the goal is to build a universe, a platform to write an interesting story, a saga on top of, and within it, the science all fits together and would conceivably happen in our future. It's something
conceivably,
that could possibly happen. You don't like to go too far into the fantasy telepathy, because a lot of science fiction writers, once they cross a certain threshold, and it's like, well, technology can be so advanced that
indistinguishable from magic.
See, I always get that quote wrong. Clark, right?
Yeah.
But you don't like going too far today. No. You like it all to be explainable within the pages.
Yes, although I cheated a lot in the Void trilogy, because you've got telepathy and magic powers, but you actually haven't. There's a scientific rationale for it, supposedly.
Right.
That was basically a planetary romance of the old, 1930s, 40s type, but just given a modern polish.
Okay, but it all makes sense in your head as you're...
It made sense in my head as I was writing it. I'm sure people can pick it apart, but to me it worked.
I mean, people like to pick things apart, but, you can always just turn around and say, I'm Britain's #1 science fiction writer.
That's my Inkpot Award from San Diego Comic Con. Gave me that. Which year was that? It was 12.
Are we allowed to?
2012. Yes, you may. It's very dusty. That's shameful.
Yeah, but it's an. Hang on, let's get some light on it. So this is Peter F. Hamilton, science fiction and fantasy. What was that? What was that for? I'm not. Sorry, I was just focusing on this.
That's my dad and my wife.
Sorry, let's put that back. What was that award for?
That was for it was for my contributions to science fiction literature. I was the literature guest of honour at that particular Comic-Con.
Congratulations.
It's rather nice. Yes, it is a rather splendid one.
Why don't you hold it as if you've just...
As if I've just won it.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hang on.
That is mine.
Hang on. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Greetings from the future. These videos take a lot of time and effort and a little bit of money to make. Money which we don't have. You can watch all of our videos for free on YouTube, or if you would like to support the channel, you can use Buy Me a Coffee, which is an online tipping service. Get yourself a t-shirt or a mug or some socks at the merch store. But best of all, we have a Patreon. You'll gain access to our exclusive Discord, home of the world's greatest read-alongs, the podcast Radio Death Cult, and of course, you can tell your friends and family that you've joined a death cult. Links in the description and on our YouTube homepage. Thank you so much. This is my own note to myself. I have loads of questions. I have loads of questions about the actual writing process. It's the generic author interview stuff. I'm sure you've been asked 1,000 times before. Cult member Charlie sums them up rather eloquently. This is easy. I just read other people's questions and just
what is Charlie summed up?
Charlie says, I was impressed by the complexity and intricacy of the various plot threads in the Commonwealth.
Thank you, Charlie.
So my questions relate to that. How are the various stories and overarching plot mapped out, and how long does the process take? Is the full story planned before the writing process starts? Or do the stories emerge as you write? We've kind of done this already, but you can answer it again. How long does it take to actually write one of those 1,000-page books?
I'll give you a generic answer to a generic question. Something like the Void trilogy, which took 4 years. I would spend the first 6 months plotting it out, and then I would write the 3 books.
So the whole Void trilogy
was written
plotted out in 6 months,
and then written in the next 3.5 years.
Okay, to be more specific, is that just like bullet points and this, or is it like? Do you include? So say you've got 20 main characters for something like that, maybe, and they've all got different emotions and desires, and they end up in a different place. Is that all mapped out as well, who these are? Do you form, if you've got like a model of who these people are before I guess you have to, don't you?
Yes, I've got the names, what they do and what they've got to do in the story. I won't necessarily go into, height, eye colour, hair colour, skin tone, whatever. And then I'll always get caught out with that. That's what sub-editors are for. I will go into their motivations.
Okay.
Quite intensely before, and then just let them develop.
So they do develop as you go through, because the plot kind of pushes them in a certain direction.
Yes. Having said that, to break my own rule, there's, as you will discover when you read it, Night's Dawn, there was a guy called Gerald Skibbo who was an everyman, and he takes his family to build a new world, and basically all hell breaks loose on this world, and a lot of his family dies, and I was about to kill him off. And I couldn't do it because I was so fond of him, because he was a nice guy trying to do his best. So he carried on into the next 2 books.
You liked him so much.
Yeah, I just couldn't kill him off.
You kept him going, and that's in the Night's Dawn trilogy.
Yes.
Okay, we've been talking for about 20 minutes now. You've mentioned Night's Dawn several times. Is that your favourite work of your own?
No, and I'll tell you why. The favourite work is always the latest one.
No.
It is. No, but it is the one I know when I die, and if I get an obituary, it will be Peter F. Hamilton, who wrote The Night's Dawn and other stuff. That's the one I will be known for.
Night's Dawn is the most famous, then?
I think it is, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Why haven't I read it? That's embarrassing, isn't it?
It is. Why haven't you read it?
They're big books, I've read lots of. I don't need to explain myself. I will get to it, and I'll be a better man when I've read it. How about that?
Okay, give me a date.
Well, I want to read it with the cult because lots of other people who joined us for Pandora's Star and Judas Unchained said, you know, they talk about Night's Dawn just like you can't shut up about Night's Dawn, neither can they. So I don't think I want to read it on my own off to the side and then just review it. I want to drag some people along with me. Yeah.
Spread the pain.
If it's your favourite, apart from your latest book,
from my latest book, yes.
His latest book, which is called, you can plug it if you want. It's
I'm NDA'd on it. I can't.
Oh, really?
You'll find out in the autumn.
Okay, we'll have to do a Zoom and talk about your latest stuff.
Okay, we'll do a Zoom.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
We don't need to do a full library tour, but this is an opportunity. I see. I mean, you're a fan of collecting science fiction. It's a little bit like my library.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of Peter F. Hamilton.
There is.
Wow.
Those are actually the proofs for reality dysfunction.
Yeah.
Numbers 1 and 2. Number 2 is the worn out one because I used that as a reference when I was writing Neutronium Alchemist.
Hang on. Number 1.
That's number 1.
That's number 1.
The first one of any kind that was ever printed of reality dysfunction.
So it's not just the first edition. It's number 1. And you signed it to yourself.
Yeah, they're all signed. That was part of the sales gimmick. No, I don't just sign them to myself.
I would. Dear Moid, great book. Thanks for the memories. What you got? A lot of you got Alistair Reynolds.
Yes, he does take up a lot of shelf space.
There's more Peter F. Hamilton. Okay. There's more Peter F. Hamilton here. You've got some great hardbacks. You've got Perdido Street Station in hardback. Is this just a perk? Oh, you've got spaceship books.
Yes,
I've got that. I mean, it's knackered, but hang on, my camera work.
There we go. I'll hold it for you.
My camera work. Wow, look at that.
I think there's another one which I haven't got, but they're all there.
What else you got? Bit of everything.
Bit of everything.
Have you read them all?
90% of them, yeah, at least.
Oh, that's unusual for a library. It's normally, you know, collectors. There's more Hamilton.
There's a shocking amount of Hamilton. It ought to be more varied, but
is it weird looking at your own library and seeing your own books up there multiple times?
Not as weird as when you go into a bookshop and see your name on a shelf.
Yeah, you're still not used to that.
Still not used to that. After 30 years, I'm still not used to that.
I mean, if that were me, I would hang around that section, just kind of pointing and saying, "See that? Britain's #1 science fiction writer. That's me."
I was with, we're going back 20 years in New Zealand. Kate and I toured around after we got married. We did a tour around and we met a friend of ours, and in the middle of nowhere we went into a bookshop with one or two of my books, and Kath, our friend, just sort of collared someone and goes, "That's him, you know, standing there, that's him." This poor bloke had no idea what to do.
He probably didn't even like science fiction. No. He's just walking past. I'm assuming you're interested in real world space and technology, James Webb, things like that. Do you keep an eye?
Yes.
What if James Webb detects life on a distant planet? I don't mean first contact like a UFO landing on the White House lawn, but if James Webb, as an example, just discovers another life out there, so there is more than one, what's that going to do to the world, to you personally, to your writing? Because so far everything you've written is out there. Suddenly it would be a little bit more realistic.
It would. I would be writing contemporary fiction rather than science fiction.
I guess you would. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think it would have quite a profound effect on a lot of people to know that we're not alone. As part of where science fiction comes, is this obsession with the other. and what the other will be like, and will it be hostile, will it be friendly? Because speaking from an evolutionary point of view, we've grown up in quite a hostile environment. I mean, we're geared, the whole simple example is the fight or flight reflex. Mm-hmm. I mean, that can only result from a pretty drastic, get out of the way of the saber-toothed tiger. It's evolution. That's what we've come to. So we assume that a lot of what we see is hostile, and a lot of what we see is hostile. And because of the progress technologically in society we've made, we've cleared the wolves out of the country. We've not got anything that's going to eat us anymore. So we're kind of relaxing into that, and to come across something that would be beyond our natural understanding would really shake a lot of brains about.
I agree, but there's different degrees of first contact.
Yes.
If it's just proof, and that's why I specifically said James Webb is my favourite example, and it's the best way to sort of explore this subject, because it's evidence that life didn't just start the one time, the one and only time, and evolved into us. It happened at least one more time. So you can't do anything with it. We can't communicate. We can't go there. We're never going to meet them. We may never detect it again, but just the knowledge, I guess, on a religious level, right? From a humanity point of view of knowing that we're not alone.
Yeah.
Would be a positive thing, or?
Yeah, you're talking about public perception. I mean, for someone like me, and yourself, because we read about this, we research it. The size of the universe, statistically, yes, there's going to be a lot of life out there. It's just not necessarily close. The Fermi question, a paradox, where are they? Because you're assuming life is going to wind up like this. It's the Star Trek, Star Wars universes. Everything's humanoid. We can, that's the baseline. But it's not going to be like that. So I'm fairly sure life exists in many forms out there. It doesn't affect my everyday life. Whereas if you get that knowledge out into the open, out into the strong public perception, you make it, like something you report, like whatever's in the news at the moment, the war, famine, election results, crime cases. If it has that much attention, then you'll see a change in public. People will not relate to it. Oh, we've found evidence of life on another planet. I think we've just come up with the doorway on Mars, which is that little rock formation, and people, oh, that's a door. Well, it's actually, I think it's something like 11 inches high. Right. But it looks so rectangular and so perfect. There's got to be a door. So stuff like that will get in the news at the moment. But if it's a constant part of the news, then I think public perception will shift around it, and people will, maybe start thinking about these kind of things, asking themselves questions that they don't normally think.
So if Webb found something and it was proven beyond reasonable doubt that it was life somewhere else, you're saying there's going to be possibly a publicity problem with even people being bothered?
Not a publicity, no, it's a perception problem. People don't think about it at the moment.
Right.
Well, some of us do, very few. It's not part of the public discourse, if you like. But having evidence that we're not alone, I think people might look at life a little differently.
I think they would, but it's I think within a generation, imagine if you were born and it just happened to be a little bit like knowing for a fact that the Big Bang, was the start of this universe, and certain facts in physics. Once you get onto the next generation, you lose that sense of awe, that wow. Imagine kids growing up in a world and we know that there is something else out there, even though we can't communicate with it. Yeah. You think like the news just kind of dies off and it's just a fact. Oh, there is other life out there. Yeah. Because without it being a Hollywood version, you think it's just going to, no one's really going to talk about it. It's not going to be a big deal.
It'll be a big deal as soon as it happens, but yes, you're right. It will just become part of the human zeitgeist.
There's another little bookcase. Yeah, what do you got on there?
Oh, that's Ed Straker's car from UFO. Still in the box.
Why is it in the... You should be playing with that.
No,
wow.
they're more valuable if you keep the box. It's the only box I've got from my childhood. Where are we?
Oh my God, you took it out?
Yeah.
Oh, you still play with it? You're just saying you've got the box.
I've just got the box.
I thought you were one of those...
It's like it's garage.
One of those super geeks that won't break the seal because...
No. I don't think they had seals back in the day when that was made. No, these are the original... Everyone uses MP3 nowadays. These are the original audio books. That's Toby Longworth. These are 20 CDs for the Dreaming Void.
Hang on. Is that focusing?
Is that focusing?
There we go. So that's a pack of CDs. Yeah. So if you were listening to that in the car...
You'd have to change...
Every hour.
CD 20 times. No, it's 20... Approximately 23 hours. There you go. So yeah, you've got an hour on each CD.
How many... is this just like stock you've got? You seem to have...
Yes, well, this is what this is part of the author contract. You get your samples sent to you, and I don't have enough aunts to send all those out.
You just couldn't get rid of them.
I couldn't get rid of them.
I mean, if they need a if you need a home for them.
Oh, this is the Reality Dysfunction 1 and 2. How many's in here? 33 CDs.
Oh my God.
41 hours. Yeah, so that's 33 CDs for the Reality. You see why MP3 took over from CDs, don't you? Now?
I start to see, yeah. I mean, I'm old enough to remember. I don't think I ever got an audio book on CD.
Right.
But, or did I? Maybe learn Spanish thing in a pack of tapes.
They started off on cassette, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, used to get them in a big box.
Can you imagine how many cassettes that would have been?
Well, about the same amount, but more bulk.
Yeah. So yes, to match the book.
I just realised I didn't know what your attitude to I don't know if you're a UFO nut and you were going to be like, yeah, let's do that. That's why I'm a science fiction writer. I like those things that are on the Pentagon released the other day.
Yeah,
they're awesome.
I actually know one of my drinking buddies is a BA pilot. And he's just going, no. He says just about everything is actually explainable.
Yeah.
It's a distortion in the lens or whatever. It's just no.
Yeah, you can look around on YouTube and find 1,000 videos that proves it's definitely real and we have to be aware of this, and then another 1,000 that just say forget it. Yeah. So, in your opinion, what's the Pentagon doing? Releasing?
I don't. Some funding method? I don't know.
That's the really interesting part of that whole thing to me. Is all right. Videos of UFOs and it's always existed and it always will. People will have footage of stuff and claim it to be whatever. But for the government to officially say we spend this much money on it, and here are these videos, it is very odd.
If it is, I mean, fair enough, something's captured, and what the hell is that? Then they're going to look into it and, it's, lens flares or Venus swamp gas or whatever. But they've looked into it, they've spent public money on it, therefore people have a right to know. I don't know.
No.
That's
idea. The stranger thing.
Yeah.
And maybe if another country joined in, because it's all just from America, then I'm like, oh, okay, that leads me to believe there's something going on with the administration, why they're talking about it now. But let's say China said, we've got some similar, we've got stuff as well. We've got craft flying around that we can't explain.
It does all tend to happen fairly near military test beds as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there is that.
It's like the space shuttle in here. It's very impressive. Well, the only other writer's room tour I've ever done was Alistair Reynolds.
Yes,
he has like a Windows 95 PC that takes about 20 minutes to start up. I've gone the other. You've gone high tech.
This is what Pratchett used to have one of those arrays with 6 screens on.
Wow.
And when asked why he had 6, he said because it couldn't fit 9 here. I mean, this is the perfect way for me to write. So I basically have notes up. That's actually music, but I have notes up on everywhere else and notes I make during.
So you write down the middle, and then you've just got your notes,
got reference, and I can call up
internet.
Yeah.
Do you not get distracted with YouTube? Do you not watch Media Death Cult on repeat where you're trying to work?
I have an alert for when that's on, and when it comes up, everything else stops.
Perfect.
Yeah. Do you think they'll believe that?
Yes. I wanted to avoid, although we have talked about specifics from some of your books, I wanted to avoid talking specifics. However, I said in my review of Pandora's Star that chapter 18, and I'm sitting opposite the person that I believe wrote the greatest chapter in science fiction history. I said it in my review, okay? So this is a very geeky moment for me. Morning Light Mountain, okay? Cult member Richard Lowe put a question together to explain it a bit better than I can. Right, the defining chapter in Pandora's Star for me is the one that deals with the birth and evolution of the species that culminates in Morning Light Mountain.
Okay.
It is the most detailed and interesting description of a truly alien race I've ever read. I agree. It creates the perfect enemy whose motivations are clearly defined, logical, believable, and the antithesis of everything humanity represents, a truly great enemy and truly great piece of writing. How did you approach this chapter? Did it evolve in importance as you wrote the story, or was it birthed very early in the planning process and you knew exactly where it would appear and how you would write it? Also, is this an idea that you had earlier in your career, tucked away in the writer's stash bag of sketches, which eventually came to fruition in Pandora's Star? Morning Light Mountain, your greatest creation. I love it. I love the way it's written. I love where it goes. I love how sterile and scary it is, but also kind of innocent. Where did that come from?
Okay, well, to answer his last bit first.
Sorry, there's about 15 questions in there.
Okay.
But
had I previously thought about it? No. It's down to the outline again. And to what we were talking about earlier and the character's motivation. I knew what I had to do. I knew Morning Light Mountain had to be alien, and its motivations, which are based in biology biology and evolution. This is how it came about. So I had a very rough sketch of what it needed to be. And then I wrote it on the day, which would have been a week or two. And then you go back and revise until it makes sense, until I got it down as perfect as I could get it. So yeah, that was the perfect example of planning. Again, I know where I start. I know where I have to finish. Go ahead and write it.
So did you have the specific idea before you got to that, when you got to write chapter 18 itself, and say, the thing is, it dawns on you. It's like we stop the book and say, now let's go over here. Did you mean to grandstand it? Like, obviously you did because that's how you've written it. Or it's like, let's cut away from the action, and here is the antagonist of the story, and this is how it came about.
Yeah.
Was the idea for it to have such a massive impact? I mean, was this...
No, I know people are quite fond of it. It's like a hit single. Every song you write, you hope is going to be successful, and for some reason, something just gets to number one in the chart. This was an integral part of the book. It was always going to be like that, and it made perfect sense on the day when I wrote it. So it was not, I'm going to wow people with this chapter. It's just part of writing science fiction.
All the components seem to come together, because you change perspective there, don't you? You slightly change writing style. It's not textbook, but it's a lot more clinical.
Well, yeah, it's closest I can come near to it is third person remote.
Third person remote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Looking down on it, the omniscient point of view.
Yeah, you do get that feeling.
Yeah.
You're watching. Have you read Children of Time?
Yes.
You know, the idea of seeing the evolution of something in front of you, and I got a lot of that similar feeling of we're watching this broader span of time happen like a smaller story in front of us, and because it's so alien, we kind of get what it is. We get its evolution as we know it, but from an alien angle. And then what I also love, again, I'm just geeking out here, it's not a question, later on where we get the description of what the entities are doing from their point of view to the humans.
Oh, yes, that's an interesting first contact.
Well, it's because that changed the perspective again, because, we kind of get that their brains just don't compute fear and pain in the same way. And you can tell us on the page, and we get it because we're reading about Morning Light Mountain. And it was awesome up until then. And then it just steps up a gear because they've got some humans, and the way they... So, again, you're writing from the perspective of them, and something like, well, they poked the flesh and all this red liquid came out, and the human started screaming, making... No, it doesn't even say that. Made weird high-pitched noises.
Yes.
And you're like, God... That is fucking horrific what you're writing about there, but you take away, you somehow scrape away all the emotion because that's what they're thinking, and yet it makes it even more horrific because this awful thing is happening. It's like torture. They're cutting these people up and having a look at them and prodding their brain, making them do this, and they had no idea. And I found that truly terrifying, that you could have an alien, an opponent that just doesn't get it, and then you magnify the whole thing with the invasion. It's like take that little bit but do it on a planetary scale, and it's like, wow, we can't really fight these things properly because they don't quite know what
you can't intimidate them because they don't get intimidation, or a unit dies, so what? It's a unit, it's a part of a hive. But it's not quite a hive. That was because science fiction has done a lot of hive minds. I just want to go slightly different. So how did you make it different? I don't know. You're not an expert in biology. You didn't quite know how the brain fit together, but you wanted to tell it from a slightly different... The concepts fitted. The concepts of what I wanted fitted. And then you look back and do you agree that that's your, like you say, that's your number one signal? You're too modest. Can you not just go, all right, let me Morning Light Mountain, I nailed that. I got that right. I got that right. I stand by my comment that it's the greatest chapter. Well, I'll take that. I'm quite happy with that. Can I stick that on the cover? You can, yeah. I won't charge you for that either. And I'm not just saying that because I'm sitting here in front of you. I've said it many times before. So thanks for indulging our geekiness. Well, thank you for asking about it. Hopefully that answered your question, Richard. These are the editor's notes. I found them somewhere deep in a file somewhere of what they wanted doing to the original manuscript to get it up to publication. So this is, I don't know if the camera will pick that up, this is what the editor writes, but it's longer than the chapter itself. It's not. So can we go to my favourite chapter? Which chapter is that, Moyd? Chapter 18. Good Lord, I just happened to have a... Morning Light Mountain. Go. Oh, it's there. It's that on that one, yeah. So that is the editor's note sent to you. Yeah. So what run us through, what do they... are they sort of picking it to pieces? No, they're just correcting my prose skill, basically. And do you change a lot once those notes come back? Well, look, 12 bottom paragraphs, straight away they found. So she'd gone, what's the structure they found? Don't remember hearing about it before, so you then got to... Because I knew what I was writing about. Right. But obviously, I didn't explain it properly originally. So they're reading it as a punter and saying, I didn't quite understand... Yeah. What structure were you on about? This one's from Freddie. I'd love to hear how he thinks about his writing in retrospect. How has it evolved over the years? Are there elements he focuses on more or less now than he used to? So has your writing Good one, Eddie.
changed? That's Freddie.
Freddie.
Freddie's
Sorry,
from Sweden.
Good one, Freddie. I think it has. This, you'll laugh at this, but I think I don't write quite such long books anymore. I think they've become a little more focused. Stop laughing.
I was just looking around at your books. So your books have become slightly smaller.
Yes, they have. Certainly since The Night's Dawn, that was very big. I will hands up to that. I think they've become a little more focused, deliberately so. The cast of characters in Night's Dawn is big. It has reduced almost consistently since then. I think they are a little bit more focused. There's some things I'd shy away from. There's quite a lot of horror elements in Night's Dawn, which I don't think I'd ever go back to. You
don't like writing horror, or it's just not needed in science fiction?
No. I mean, it's a great crossover genre. I think I wrote Night's Dawn before I had children.
Okay.
I think is my answer to that. I'm a little bit more conscious about mayhem and gore and general ways of hurting people. It's certainly not for spectacle. I mean, I have bad guys in the book, but I don't think... Let's go with gratuitous. Mm-hmm. Maybe some of Night's Dawn was... My balance has shifted since then.
You've softened a bit.
I've softened a bit.
Okay, you've softened a bit, and then not as big.
Not completely. I've softened a bit. I can still do ultraviolence, but possibly not as much these days.
Can you just get me...
Get you next to me. There we go. Perfectly framed.
There are some sticky questions that I could ask you. You get quite a lot of criticism thrown your way about some of the nasty characters that you write, the treatment of women. I like it in your writing. I like how you build worlds, and not everybody is nice to each other, and it is a nasty world. I've said that in my reviews.
Yeah.
How do you react to, I guess, some of the criticism that gets thrown your way sometimes?
I'm never going to please everybody all of the time. I don't want to try and do that. That's writing by committee. That's bland writing. What people need to remember is that the opinions of the characters are not the opinions of the author. But a lot of people get confused
with that.
People get very confused, and so the reason I'm saying that is there is no black and white in characters. It's all shades of grey. I would like to think, as an author, I can argue the point of someone who I completely and in real life I would completely and utterly disagree with. You've got to put yourself in their head. Hitler didn't think he was a bad guy, is my example on this. Gorbonelli in Pandora's Star and Judas, who would, he's a multi-billionaire. He's not going to waste his time ever talking to the likes of you or I. But he's also the most fun to write. Morninglight Mountain in that thinks it's absolutely correct to wipe out humanity, that we're just a stain on the universe.
That's different. That's an alien that has a completely different brain, and people aren't going to read about Morninglight Mountain, which I want to talk about in a minute from a different angle, and talk about their attitudes. The criticism is more about what you do to someone like Melanie. Melanie is the example that gets thrown up all the time. Why is this woman using sex as a weapon? My answer to that was because that's how she gets stuff done. And you're almost saying that if this is a future, the Commonwealth is possibly a future version of our world that we live in, that things haven't changed much, that those sensibilities still exist.
But they have.
Is that what you're saying in the book? Yes,
because it's grossly unfair on women. I mean, the trope being that if a bloke sleeps around, well, hey, he's a lad. If a woman does it, trollop. That's so awful. And I hate that. Melanie is never judged in the books by the society she lives in. That's gone out of that phase. That is about as close to message preaching as I will get.
So you're
she is not judged because of that, not by anybody in the book.
So it's not gratuitous. You're not writing her as a gratuitous character and including the sexuality in there.
But okay, first off, sexuality is part of every human life. I know you're going to get the balance right on that. Secondly, her character arc is fascinating.
I agree, yeah.
Of how she, and it's a complete growth. I'm surprised people don't use Louise Cavanagh, who you don't know yet because you haven't read Night's Dawn, who starts off as this mousy little girl and winds up practically saving the universe. That's the kind of I'm going to stitch myself up here, but that's the kind of example I would like for women to happen to women. That they're not constrained by the invisible constraints of this society puts on them. My societies don't have that, and I think that would be the kind of world I'd like to grow up in. I wouldn't like the alien invasions part of it, but that societal outlook, I think, is very positive. That's why I write it.
Do you think the criticism has increased more over the last few years?
Sure it has, yes. But then I get stuff read into my books that what are you talking about?
Yeah.
The best one I ever had was Quantum Murder, and it starts off. It's a proper whodunit. It starts off in a dark and stormy night in an English mansion, and Professor Kitchener is murdered. He's a physicist, and one of the reviews was the name Kitchener invokes imperial resonances.
Wow.
What were you on when you wrote that?
And that's from a review?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you get this hassle from editors as well?
No.
They want you
no. I had to think about it. Must mean General Kitchener. I had to work out what the hell they were talking about. But this is why balance is never right for everybody. This is why I can never please all the people all the time. I have to make my choice to write that story in that way, and that I make no apologies for that. If people are offended by it, well, I'm sorry, but I'm not changing it.
Don't go changing.
Yeah, it's my story. It's the way I tell it. I don't write it to cause deliberate offence. I think that's the kind of future that I would, where we're not so judgy, would be great to have and great to live in. So that's the way it is.
Thank you for that. Before I go,
yes,
do you mind signing?
I've seen this bit before. Yes, I'm even. I bet you can't stack mine as high as you stack the one for Al.
Well, let's see. There's that one.
Okay.
You could just sign that.
You want that two-moid? Which way around are we? That way around.
Why not?
Two-moid.
That is me. Yeah.
There we go.
Thank you, sir. Can you sign that one? Can you make that one out to Kevin? That's my real name.
Oh, right. Oh, I didn't know that. Right, okay, sure. Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome.
Okay.
There's that one. If you could make that one out to Marcus, that's my middle name. Sometimes I like to use my middle name. If you could, that would be awesome. Thank you.
All right. £4.50.
Yes, second-hand shop.
Okay, Marcus.
Yeah, Marcus. That one. Yeah. Thank you. If you could make that one out to Jessica.
Is that Mrs. Boyd?
No, I sometimes use the name Jessica at weekends. Don't worry, just Jessica. Just sign that one, Jessica. That'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
How many S's?
2. Yeah, 2.
You have to check.
Jessica. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then this one, if you could sign that J. Smith 99.
Where's this going?
That's just for me. I use different names.
You had to look that up.
Well,
Are you eBaying these?
no. Is that okay? No, I'm not. But is that okay?
Is what okay?
Is eBay? Is that okay? Well, I don't have to. I don't have to.
You don't have to.
I don't have to eBay them. J Smith 99. I'll give you 20% of the profits.
I don't know. These were supposed to be for your personal collection.
How much then?
30.
25.
Done.
Peter, I think we're recording.
Good Lord.
There's me. There's you.
Me.
There's us. Oh, turn the lights on. Shit.
Where are the lights? Well, how do
Press
I turn
that
this
big
on?
button.
Which big button? The one on the
Big
front?
button on the back there.
That button.
We've got sound, vision, and lights.
This is so professional.
Really? What's this video called? It's not quite a top 10 science fiction books.
It may or may not be 10. I didn't actually count properly. It's going to be sort of influences and stuff I like,
Okay.
rather than top 10, because I can't do top 10.
It's fine. So books that you like have influenced you
And
better than your own books, or do you wish you'd written any of them?
oh yes, we'll get to them.
Okay.
But first, I'm going to mess you about right from the start.
Thanks.
Book haul.
Book haul.
Book haul.
Yeah. You're doing a book haul.
No.
I'm
These are for you, because I know I'm not doing that on mic, am I?
No.
I know you haven't got these in hardback.
I haven't got the. Oh, thank you so much. Oh my God.
That's
A
the Night Dawn trilogy in.
Which I haven't read.
I
yet,
know.
To my
well,
shame.
you can read it and let me know what you think next week.
Okay, there you go. A bonus book haul, which I wasn't expecting. I mean, we are sitting in a room full of Peter F. Hamilton books. I've got my eye on a few others, but thank you so much. Those are
special edition
wonderful.
ones. Yeah.
Look at them. Triple squirrel killers. Oh my God. Thank you. Anyway.
Right. Back to what we're supposed to be doing.
That was a book haul.
Back to what we're supposed to be doing. In no particular order.
Mm-hmm.
Ted Chiang.
Okay.
Because you can't write short stories better than Ted Chiang.
That's what I hear.
I met him once. He's a nice guy. And yeah, that's just. I always used to say, what's his name? Roald Dahl was the gold standard in short stories, because they always ended on a twist or a pun or something. That was always what I tried to do for short stories, which is like, I can't write them. But Ted Chiang is the top.
That's the man. I have that book. I've read half of it. I should carry on. I don't know why.
I think this is the story that the film was made of. Arrival, yeah. And yeah.
So many people gravitated towards him because of that book. It's recommended all the time. Good choice.
This is Anne McCaffrey. It's the only one I could find. I don't know where the rest are. I really liked her Perns. I fortunately met Anne as well. This is not people I've met. This just stands in for all Anne McCaffrey books. She was a great reader. She probably wouldn't like it, but it's kind of more YA-ish. I think it would probably be classed as YA today.
Why wouldn't she like that?
Well, because it's for everyone. I don't like it.
You don't like the label YA?
No, I don't. I don't like labelling books. I get that you sort of kids. Maybe you don't want to read Stephen King at the age of 10, but yeah, this is and basically the Dragon World Pern really appealed to me when I was a lot younger, when I was in my teens. So yeah, Anne McCaffrey, great read. Good
science fiction or
good one. It's sort
people
of
talk
fantasy.
About her dragon books all the time and say you could. I'm not bothered about genre so much, but they say you could possibly squeeze it into science fiction if you really wanted to.
Well, they got to Pern on a spaceship, so
there you go.
Well, there you go. Yeah,
good enough for me.
Yeah. Okay. So the Pern series, anyway.
Okay.
And she wrote other stuff as well. Right, who have we got here? Again, this is Claire North. Sorry, Claire, I can't find somewhere the first 15 lives of Harry August, which was the first one I was sent of hers to comment, and I've just been recommending her ever since because of that. It's a brilliant. She wrote other stuff as well under different names, but Claire is a great writer, and this is Touch, which was also very good, but I came to her through 15 Lives of Harry August.
It's on my TBR.
Yeah.
I haven't read it. What's Touch about?
Touch is it's a person who lives on. If I was the guy touching you, I'd have to do that, touch you, and then I'm in your body.
Right.
And they're chased by sort of like the Inquisition back in medieval times, and he's lived on. It's a great read.
So you just jump to someone's body by touching them.
It.
You don't take on any of their attributes or anything like that.
No,
You're just
in
there.
It's your personality in charge, and then you go on to someone else, and the person whose body you touch is like, how the hell did I get here?
So what happens to you swap?
Yeah, but he's got nowhere to swap back to. He has to keep going.
Right. So if I went up to you and touched you, I'd jump into your body.
Yeah.
What would happen to you?
I'm just in here waiting for you, not knowing what's happening, waiting for you in a day,
You're
a week,
suspended,
a year. Yes, yeah.
And then when I jump out
I'm
into
like,
someone else...
What am I doing here? How did I get here? What time is it? Yeah.
So is that...
That's all. This is also very good. But like I say, I'd recommend all her stuff. But I came to it by first 15 Lives of Harry August.
Yeah, I'm aware of her and that book. I haven't heard of Touch.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's this is the proof they sent me. But yeah, Touch. But also all the other stuff she writes. Okay. Julian May, Saga of the Exiles. Mm-hmm. This I came to. I know I did when I was about 21, 22. And I sort of read an awful lot of science fiction, and there wasn't nothing like as much about as there is today. And I'd read all the Nivens, I'd read all the Asimovs and the Clarks and other stuff. And then I was getting a little bit jaded with it, and then I came to this, and this is it science fiction or is it fantasy? Mm-hmm. And this just yes, this is what I like, and this is one of the reasons I thought I would like to become an author. I can do stuff like this.
A direct influence then.
A direct influence, yeah.
So
it took a few years.
Do you steal anything from there or lift any ideas or just the style? Or
Probably, well, it's an influence. I can't say what it was. But it did, given what I've just given you, the Night's Dawn is a kind of, they always call it genre blending. This is very much fantasy meets science fiction.
Yeah. I have it.
You have it, yeah.
I have the whole. It's four books, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And then there's, because it's the galactic milieu, but this is part of it. Then there's a sort of interregnum book, and then you're back in the future. I think it's about 6 or 7 in total. Okay. But these 4 make up the first section.
Yeah, it gets talked about a lot.
Yeah.
It's one that I never quite got to.
Okay, well, that's
one day
to be read.
One day.
Right, the Forever War, obviously. Mm-hmm. Now, the weird thing about this is I loved this when I really was a teenager when I read this. And it's the Never Meet Your Heroes thing, which I have met Joe, and he's a lovely guy.
Still kicking around.
Oh, yeah, he is. Yeah, absolutely. And the weird thing is, this has an introduction by Peter F. Hamilton. How can something I read at school have an introduction by me?
Also, how did you get there before Neil Gaiman? Because he normally introduces all of the science fiction books. So
I know, yeah.
Well done.
I obviously beat him on this one, but no. I still recommend this, and it's still a brilliant book. And do meet your hero if it's Joe Haldeman.
I reread it as a community, we read it a few weeks ago. Yeah, I think it was our last read along but one. It was a reread for me, but it does provoke that conversation about Vietnam and what he's really talking about. Yeah. So I had the opportunity to not just read it again, but because I was reviewing it, do a little bit more research, which I don't usually do, and it's quite striking how autobiographical it really is. And the idea of time dilation being a mental thing rather than just a scientific thing, and, you know, sort of equating it to going to Vietnam and then coming back and the world has moved on. So, yeah, good choice. It's not just a science fiction book. It's about people as well.
Yes, and this will definitely class in the influence section.
Okay,
right.
I guess it would, yeah.
Justina Robson.
Never heard of it. Natural history.
I think it's one of her best, if not the best she's done. I mean, she's done other stuff. What have we got? Keeping It Real here, next to the Pink Floyd. But yeah, no, this is a standout for her as far as I'm concerned.
What's it about?
It's about the newest world we've found, and some very strange things happening there, and the people that get sent to it, and yeah, I don't want to give it away, but
no big spoilers.
No big spoilers, but it really is science fiction and makes you think, and yeah, excellent book.
That's got to go on the TBR as well.
Okay, sorry about this. This is all. Now, Indigo, Graham Joyce. Again, this is the representative book. Graham Joyce was a huge friend of mine. And is an astonishingly good writer. Whenever anyone says, you know, science fiction isn't literature, oh yes, it is. Graham,
who says science fiction isn't literature?
Oh, I think I may have heard it on the internet.
Don't go near that internet thing. Told you before.
Sadly, passed away a while back now. And Graham and I actually wrote 2 short stories together, one of which got nominated for the Triptree Award.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We didn't win, but we got nominated. No. Hey, no, Graham is certainly, he'd hate the word, but fantasy. It was magical realism, fantasy, whatever. But the way he gets into characters and situations is just phenomenal in every book. I think I'm deliberately doing this, I've got about 2 left to read of Graham's. I met him right at the. We were both starting out at the same time. I think he beat me into print by about a year with Dreamside. But it really is. I mean, this is recommended by Stephen King, and hardly surprising because he was just such a. He's a lovely guy, and the writing style and the ability and the talent he had is just fabulous.
So not crisp, hard science fiction.
No,
a bit more.
No. It's fantasy, but it's magical realism. It really makes you think, and he's evocative of styles and places, and his own childhood was in quite a few of them. Year of the Ladybird. It's a fantastic read.
I'll keep an eye out for that, but not necessarily that book. Just anything.
All of Graham Joyce's stuff. It's all equally good, basically. Ian MacDonald.
I have that book. I have that edition.
He probably won't like me saying that this is my favourite Ian MacDonald book. I mean, I always envy Ian for his prose, and this is just. I mean, the one he's done recently, the Lunar trilogy, is great, but this to me is the Ian MacDonald that would be the Desert Island Ian MacDonald. Mm-hmm. It's set in Turkey, I think it is. It's been a couple of years since I read it.
It's certainly the Middle East, isn't it?
Yeah, Middle East, near future, which is always tough to write. But Ian has done it perfectly because it's Ian. Yeah, this is definitely, if you'd forced me to make a top 10, this would have been in it.
Wow, it's the only Ian MacDonald I've ever read, but I don't know why I've gone any further because it did stick with me. It's, like you say, near future, but he talks a lot about nanotech and AI.
Yes, but it's just emerging.
That's right. It's in the real world, yes. But I like how there's a cross-section or crossroads between the old world and the new, because it does feel like you're running around.
And that's that's the feeling he gives of Istanbul, isn't it? That's the feeling of the city. So. It's sort of the crossroads between different worlds.
Yeah.
So definite recommendation.
I need to. It always creeps onto my top 100, but it's quite low down simply because I read it when it came out. It's about 10 years old now, isn't it? Or maybe more than that.
Possibly longer.
Is it?
Yes.
And so things that I've read a while ago, I need to reread again because the feeling is still there, but I'm not quite sure about the plot. But yeah.
But again, Ian's prose is always superb, so I hate him for that. This bloke.
Alistair Reynolds.
Have you heard of him?
I think so.
Yeah, he's not bad.
He's all right, yeah.
Again, we're into... this is the book I've chosen to flash up to the camera. But Alistair Reynolds, in general, is your science fiction author to go to, along with many others of my contemporaries who I ought to mention, like Steve Baxter and Paul Macaulay and Ian and whatever. But Alistair, you can't beat hard SF, space opera type stuff as the Revelation space ones. And I also like the whole Revenger series as well, which is sitting up there. That was a nice change for him.
That's waiting for me. I started the first one, and I don't think the trilogy was complete.
Right.
So I've left it to one side. But you like that as much as the other stuff?
Yes, I do, because it's different. I mean, a lot of people like authors just writing very similar things each time. It's way far future, but it's a very different style, which is always nice to see. I like trying to do different stuff, but it's always nice to see an author doing something different to what he's known for and pulling it off with class, which he did with the Revenger series. It's
kind of, again, that YA label, it's kind of thrown into a younger crowd, isn't it?
Yeah, I think even Al doesn't like calling it YA, but
we all hate labels. But
we all hate labels, but yes, I can see why marketing would class it as YA. Yeah. I'll give you that one. Way Station, Clifford Simak.
It's my next review, I think.
Really?
I read it.
Oh, okay.
Well, my next review is I read it 2 weeks ago, so I'm writing the review right now, and it was my first Simak.
Okay. Look what it says here on the cover page.
Excellent, subtle, and thought-provoking. Peter F. Hamilton. Yep. Again, where's Neil Gaiman when you need him?
Again, read when I was in my teens, and very different to very different to Al or Ian or anybody like that. It's called. They always think it's called pastoral science fiction.
Yeah,
and it was
pastoral.
It was
because it's set on a farm or something.
Yes, I mean he a lot of his characters were sort of slightly loners, and he's obviously come from that part of America because it ties into a lot of stuff he does. It's his background, this sort of rural idyll that gets messed around. But Way Station I really like that because growing up a nerdy teen all by myself, and this guy was in here. Enoch Wallace, I think his name is, was very much the loner because of science fiction reasons.
Yeah,
obviously. So that really appealed to me when I was young, and I still stand by it today. It's such a good novel.
I found it quite comforting because how soft it was.
Yes,
and the perspective, because it was through this character that was kind of
100 and something years old, I think he was.
Yeah, and it took me about half the book to really understand, not that I ever did completely understand, but what does Simak want to say here? Because it wasn't quite an adventure. The science fiction didn't go out there. He kept it within that character, and kind of there was a massive universe out there and a big revelation to where we are. And what is actually beyond our solar system that the rest of the world doesn't really know. And
especially poignant at the moment because there was it was World War III was looming in this, but now we've got the Ukraine, so it's still just as relevant today. No, I really enjoyed it. So I'm writing the review right now, and I'm not quite sure where to start with it, but... Oh, I shall watch that one. Oh, thanks. I'll mention you in it now. Yeah. I'll read the quote on the front. What was it? All right, there you go. Excellent,
subtle and thought-provoking. Do they give you a choice of words and then you just sort of put them in?
Pick three. Throw a dice and pick three.
Yeah?
No. That was my own words.
How much did you get paid for that?
Oh, thousands.
Amazing. Good work if you can get it.
This.
I don't know what that is.
I know. No,
do I?
No, I read this when I was very, very young. This is here. It was actually written in 1955, and this is, when was it published? 1968 version. This is the anti-list. I felt I should balance out this list. This is how you don't write science fiction.
Kemlo and the Starmen.
And I think I've got another Kemlo book as well. I mean, even when I was 9 and I read this, I knew this is absolutely awful.
Why are you bringing it up? What's going on?
Because we've had a list of the good stuff. You've got to balance it out somehow.
So this still had an influence on how you write because you don't want to write.
Because I don't want to write like this.
Okay.
But I'm really sorry, E.C. Elliott, if you're still around. But
what's wrong with it?
Well, it's obviously 1950. I mean, this Kemlo was born on a space station. Therefore, he doesn't need a spacesuit when he goes outside in the vacuum. I think
that makes sense. I like it so far.
Yeah. I think the big adventure was when a galaxy was hurtling into our solar system.
Right.
And I just read it and going, no.
So the science is all wonky and wrong, and you don't like the inaccuracies.
Yes. Even at 8 or 9, I knew this was wrong.
Hard science fiction writers are like that, though, aren't they?
You
want to get it right.
Yeah.
See, I don't mind. A galaxy hurtling towards the solar system being an emergency sounds kind of cool.
Yeah. But
I mean, I don't know what that would look like, but...
Very interesting.
Yeah?
But no, this is the don't write like that.
Okay, there's so much stuff from that era that...
I mean, I can see why it was appealing to people, but no, just no.
Okay.
Right. Now, I'm going to mess you about slightly again.
Okay, thanks.
Here we go.
Is it another book haul?
No.
That's a shame.
This...
Oh, he's going to the drawer. What the hell's going on?
This comes under audiobooks, but you won't... I'm guessing you haven't even heard of this, let alone seen one before. That's a Thunderbirds episode.
A Thunderbirds episode
on a...
Hopefully, I can find an image of that. I bet I won't be able to.
I'd be impressed if you can. This comes out on a
vinyl single,
tip, but you play it at 33, not 45. Mm-hmm. That's Jerry Anderson's signature. I got him to sign that for me. That's a very special one.
You signed in person?
Yeah.
Brink of disaster.
Yeah.
So you're a big Thunderbirds fan. You just wanted to show off your...
Yes, I did, but it counts as a book because it's the audio recording of the show, and I think there's a narrative on it as well. I've got about 7 or 8 of these. They used to make...
You don't need this one then.
Hand that back. They did those. I think they do some Dalek ones as well. There's all the sort of... This was 60s. This was the 1960s.
That's in good nick.
Yes, it is. Thankfully.
I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, I didn't think you would have.
So have you ever played it?
Not recently. I mean, it's probably worn out from when I was a kid.
So it was...
Oh, God, yes.
This isn't just when you were older you collected it?
No. This is when it came out.
Wow.
And then I got him to sign... I think it was only a couple of years before he passed. I met him at a convention and I managed to get to meet him.
So Thunderbirds are a big influence...
Huge.
...on your writing.
Absolutely huge.
I think I can see that. I mean, that and...
The machinery was just...
Michael Bay, of course. But, yeah.
Oh, Michael Bay, no, I would never write. I would never write like that.
I think I referred to you as the Michael Bay of science fiction.
I think
and
you
then
did.
I kind of wanted to take it back straight away. And then I thought about... I don't know why we're talking about this, but then I thought about it and went, no, it's bombastic and colourful and an adventure. There's more to it than that. Move on.
Right, last one.
Okay. You saved the best till last. Okay.
Again, like Graham, I haven't read all the Ian M. Banks. I think I've got 2 or 3 science fiction ones and about half of his conventional novels. Mm-hmm. But he writes brilliantly. The whole idea of the culture is fabulous. Mm. He was a nice guy.
Unfortunately, I'll never get to meet him, but...
Now, this is where we get to a little bit of the tearful.
To Peter, a hoot of an event, and
Yeah.
nobody threw anything.
Yeah.
Ian M. Banks
This
in
was-
sunny Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Poetic license.
He and I did. I think I was promoting Great North Road, and he was obviously doing the Hydrogen Sinatra. We did an event at Waterstones. We went down there. Everything was fine. We went down the pub afterwards, had a few drinks, and then a month later, the announcement came. He put out that he'd got cancer. I never saw him again.
It was
It's
so
just,
quick.
I mean, like I said, we were down the pub. That he was fine,
And then he wasn't.
and then he wasn't.
And then he was gone.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously, huge recommendation, Ian M. Banks.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.